Hello my dear students and dear learners and dear friends. Welcome to my channel Amjad Online Academy. So today I have come here with a new video with a new topic, and the topic is the cost sheet. Now we are going, as you know, we have started the series of management accounting, series of session of management accounting, and now we are moving towards the practical problems, numerical problems, or you can say. So before that, I would like to tell you about the cost sheet. What is the objective of preparing the cost sheet? What is the basic format of the cost sheet? Then we will move on solving the practical problems and the numerical problems. Right? The numerical and practical problems, it starts from here, from the cost sheet in the management accounting or in the cost accounting subject. All right. So what is the purpose or what is the objective of preparing the cost sheet actually? If you might heard about, if you already have studied the financial accounting, right? If you already have studied, I'm talking about financial accounting. So if I ask you, what is the basic objective? Basic objective of financial accounting is what? There will be several objectives are given in the book of preparing the financial accounts, but if you know, the basic objective of financial accounting is nothing, is just to calculate the profit and loss of the business and to judge the financial position. This is the primary objective of the financial accounting, of preparing the financial records, isn't it? आप मुझे बताइए, इसके अलावा कोई और बेसिक ऑब्जेक्टिव है फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग का? इसके अलावा कुछ नहीं है. प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करना, लॉस कैलकुलेट करना, या किसी भी बिजनेस की फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन को जज करना. राइट. लाइक वे द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ प्रिपेयरिंग द कॉस्ट शीट हियर इज आल्सो टू कैलकुलेट. द ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ प्रिपेयरिंग द कॉस्ट शीट इज टू calculate the profit and sales of the business, but there are some differences in which the cost sheet is prepared, right? There are some point of the differences between the financial records or financial statements and the costing records, right? Here the approach is also the same. Approach of preparing the cost sheet is to calculate the profit and the sales of the business, and the objective of financial accounting is also to calculate the financial accounting that is calculated in different way. But while you calculate the profit with the help of the cost sheet or the sales with the help of the cost sheet, there is a format to be different format to be adopted, right? Because in profit and loss account you have to follow the GAAP. Means you have to follow all the debit and credit rule, you know. Debit, all the expenses are debited, all the incomes are credited, but no such rules are followed in case of the management accounting or in case of the cost sheet. So there is a different particular format which I am going to describe it here in a very simplest way, right? So let me start with the format, and let me tell you one another thing. When we calculate the profit with the help of the cost sheet, that's why the another name of the cost sheet is statement of profit. Statement of profit. Statement of cost and profit. It is also known as the statement of cost and the profit, the another name of the cost sheet, right? And it comes under, let me tell you another additional thing, that when you prepare the cost sheet, this method of preparing the cost sheet comes under the method of costing. There are different methods of costing. I will make a separate video on that. There are different methods of costing. So the cost sheet which comes under the method that is known as unit costing method. Unit costing. You have to be conscious, you have to be very much careful about these things. So both the things are same. If you see, right, in some books, the title of the cost sheet is known as the unit costing. So if you see the title of unit costing, you will see the cost sheet preparation in that, under that. So it is the same. Don't be confused, right? कि यहाँ पर unit costing दिया हुआ है तो ये क्या चीज़ आ गई? No, both the things are same, but just little bit difference is that the cost sheet is prepared under the method of unit costing method of management accounting. All right. So we start with the format. Look, there are two columns in the cost sheet. Generally one column is not of use much, and it depends the usage of this second column. I will left this space for the continuation purpose, right? If anything, I will continue from here also. So I am starting from here. Look, the format of the cost sheet is starting from here. This is the first page of your register, you can say. The first column is particulars, and this is amount, definitely in rupees or INR, right? Amount means the quantity, that may be dollar, that may be rupees, right? That may be pounds, whatever. And here the cost per unit. But look, just because of this column, cost per unit, this is known as unit costing method of preparing the cost sheet. That's why, because of this column. And this column will be used when there will be the information given in the question. Then you have to calculate the cost per unit also. So if the information is not given in the question, then you don't have to prepare this column, or if you are preparing, then you have to leave this column blank. There is no use of it. So I am starting. There are actually the primary four main heads of the cost sheet. I am going to describe one by one. Now let me start where the cost sheet starts from. The first item is opening stock of raw material. I'm sorry, I'm writing in a short form, so you have to be careful in the listening, because I have used this terminology in my previous videos also. So those who are watching for the first time, I have written the short form RM. RM here means raw material, or you can say simply the material. It is the opening stock of the raw material. First of all, you will write here the stock which has been left of previous year. You have brought that stock in this current year, so you starting with that, right? So definitely whatever which has been left in the factory in the previous year, पहले जब आप नया साल आएगा तो उसको आप यूज करोगे पहले उसको, then plus word new purchase of raw material. Again I am using the short form. New purchase of, when definitely this will be given in the question. If you are purchasing the new inventory or the new raw material, then it has to be added plus. That's why I use the word plus. New purchase of raw material plus direct expenses. Generally come here carriage. All right, generally come here the carriage, and this is what the carriage inward. Look, when you are writing only the carriage, it is understood this is the carriage inward. But if it is carriage outward, you have to mention especially the outward word, right? You have to suffix the outward word. But if you are not writing the word inward, then it is already understood this is the carriage inward. So carriage inward, I have told you many times, is the expense which has been incurred, right, of on the goods to bring from outside to the factory. वो expenses जो बाहर से हमारी फैक्ट्री में लाने में हुए, किस चीज़ पर, रॉ मटेरियल में. तो that's why the carriage becomes the part of the raw material cost. कैरिज भी रॉ मटेरियल का कॉस्ट का पार्ट बन जाती है, तो इसलिए रॉ मटेरियल में ऐड हुई है यहाँ पर ये, राइट. देन माइनस, दिस इज द माइनस साइन, एंड माइनस साइन मीन्स क्लोजिंग stock of raw material. It is a closing, CLOSSI, closing stock of raw material. So in the end of the year, if the stock is left, then you have to deduct, and you have to make in this your mind. Then, or generally, I am not talking in exceptional condition. Generally, while preparing the cost sheet, all the opening stocks of everything will be added, and all the closing stocks will be deducted. So when this is the formula, look, opening stock plus new purchase of raw material plus direct expenses, which we are referring to the carriage only, which we are referring to the carriage inward, minus the closing stock, it comes equal to raw material consumed. This is the one heading. In short, it is known as RMC, raw material consumed. So it may come in your examination. Okay, what is the formula? What do you understand by the raw material consumed? Or it may be asked in the objective type of the question. What is the formula of calculating raw material consumed? So the formula of calculating the raw material consumed is simply that the opening stock of raw material plus new purchase plus carriage minus closing stock of the raw material will be equal to the raw material consumed. So whatever the amount will come here, right? As I have told you, this column will be used only when you are asked to calculate the cost per unit. For example, if you have written any amount here and units are mentioned in the question and you are asked to calculate the cost per unit, then this amount will be divided by the number of the units given in the question. We will take the illustration on that. You will understand well, right? Raw material consumed. After calculating the raw material consumed, you have to separately mention here the second component, that is labor, yani you can say plus labor or wages. So if you think there are two main components right here in this, one is material or material expenses, another is the labor or wages plus other direct expenses. If any other direct expenses is given in the question, that has to be added here. When you will add here, this will be the first primary head of your cost sheet, will be known as A head. As I have told you, there are four main heads. So this is the first A head you have calculated, will be known as prime cost. ये ध्यान रखिएगा. Whatever you have calculated here, this will be known as the prime cost. So this is the first head of in the format of the cost sheet. First, as I have told you, the opening stock, new purchase, direct expenses minus closing stock will be equal to the raw material consumed, and then once you add the labor, then any other direct expenses, it will be equal to the cost, prime cost. And if you see the prime cost, it is generally related with the factory expenses or the direct expenses only. It is including the direct expenses. And if you are observing, there are two main component of the prime cost. One is labor, another is material. अगर आप देखें तो labor और material ही इसके दो main component हैं. Then you reach the prime cost. Now coming to the next part. Now again you have to add factory overheads. Now look, I'm using the word overhead. Yesterday in the previous session I told you the difference between the expenses and the overheads. Now these are the expenses because these are the direct expenses which are incurring in the factory. Now whatever the expenses which will be show after this prime cost will be known as the overheads because they are all indirect expenses. Now factory overheads. So now you will show all your factory expenses, indirect expenses which are given in the question. It will depend. They may be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have to identify which are expenses related to the factory indirectly, right? They may be, example के तौर पर, they may be fuel and power. They may be depreciation of plant, particularly here, depreciation of plant, repair of the plant, right? Repair of the plant. फैक्ट्री से रिलेटेड कुछ भी है, अगर यहाँ पर लिखा है कि फैक्ट्री रेंट, फॉर एग्जांपल लाइटिंग, फैक्ट्री लाइटिंग अगर है तो यहाँ आएगा फैक्ट्री लाइटिंग. तो यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई, यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस. इफ देयर इज ओनली लाइटिंग इज यूज्ड in the question, then you have to consider it is the office related expenses. But if it is specially mentioned, then this is factory lighting, then you have to write it here. So there are several expenses. Just I'm showing the expenses, right? After writing all the expenses, after including all the expenses, factory related expenses or factory related overheads, right? You have to, whatever they will come here, there may be other several. you have to adjust another thing. This is plus opening stock of WIP and minus closing stock of WIP. So WIP stands here for work in progress. Look, I will tell you just now. Once you have adjusted this WIP here, so this will be equal to the second primary head of the cost sheet. This is the B head you have calculated here, B head, that is known as now factory cost. You have reached the second primary head is the factory cost. Now let me tell you about the WIP. WIP actually is the work in progress. Look, inventory, you might have heard about inventory. Actually, inventory is the macroscopic word which is used in broader sense generally. There are three types of the inventory in the business. First inventory is raw material, which we have used in the factory here. Look, second is WIP. WIP is work in progress. Work in progress. That will have some value or not? As you know, it is in the right, depends on the common sense. When you're producing any commodity, when the production of any commodity has to undergo different production stages. So when there will be different production stages, definitely some inventory will be involved in that. अगर मैं ये मार्कर बना रहा हूँ, for example, this marker has to undergo 3 or 4 production stages. तो फर्स्ट स्टेज क्या होगी? रॉ मटेरियल खरीदने वाली. सेकेंड स्टेज क्या होगी? जब ये प्रोसेस में होगा कुछ गुड्स, राइट, दैट इज विल बी नोन एज अ वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस, कि जो अभी बीच में है, दैट इज नॉट कंप्लीटेड येट, दैट इज नॉट कंप्लीटेड येट, दैट इज नॉट द फाइनल स्टॉक. तो दैट इज when it is converted into the final stock, that is known as finished goods. Finished goods. So there are three types of the inventory: raw material, work in progress, finished goods, right? Final goods, which is now it is finished goods means now the goods has become ready to sell in the market. Market में बेचने के लिए goods तैयार है. तो raw material you have adjusted here in the factory, prime cost. This work in progress has to be adjusted here. When you have adjusted the work in progress here, you will reach the second head, the factory cost. This is known as the factory cost. Now coming in the continuation, do not think that you have to prepare the format of the cost sheet like this, but it is in the continuation of the same page. So suppose it is the first page of your register and it is in the continuation, because I am just utilizing the board space here like this only. Same 2 columns, again the particular, again the amount and cost per unit. Cost per unit. All right, the cost per unit. In the continuation here, listen, do not be confused. After the factory cost, what you have to do here, add office overheads. Now you have to write office overheads. You have to add here. Now it is a time. Look, you have considered all the direct expenses which are incurring in the factory. Now you have considered all the indirect expenses related to the factory. Now it is time to consider all those expenses which are incurring in the office. They are known as the office overheads. There may be several. If you see the format of the cost sheet in the books, that is very long, right? Because there are several innumerable expenses. How many examples I will give you? When there are several, I just can tell you, for example, salary, director's fee, legal fee, commission, rent, etc., etc. Because there will be a lot of, because as I have told you, it will depend in the question, and you first of all you have to identify which expenses is related to the factory, which overhead is related to the factory, which overhead is related to the office, right? Which overhead is related to the further item which are going to come here, right? So after adding, look here, first now it is the time to adjust the final goods. Look, raw material you have adjusted in the prime cost, work in progress you have to adjust here, right? Up till now, once you will add it here, whatever, जहां यहां तक ऐड करने के बाद you will name it office cost. A separate nomenclature is there, but it is a subhead. It is a subhead. Once you adjust plus opening stock of finished goods, and minus यानी less closing stock of finished goods. So this is known as the adjustment. As I have told you, all the opening stocks of all inventory are added and all the closing stocks are deducted. So after this adjustment, whatever comes here, that is known as the C. The C main head of the cost sheet is known as cost of goods produced. This will be known as the cost of goods produced. Understood? ये आपका cost of goods produced है. अभी आपके 3 हेड आ गए. मैंने बताया ना कि there are 4 heads, 4 main heads of the cost sheet. One is labor prime cost, another is the factory cost, and now the C head we have calculated the cost of goods produced. Whatever will come here. Okay, in figures. After that, the last step is left, and up think what is left. You have considered direct factory expenses. You have considered indirect factory expenses, which is known as overhead. You have considered all the office overheads. Now it is time to consider the remaining expenses, which are known as selling and distribution overheads. सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ओवरहेड्स, यही तो बचता है. अब जो भी एक्सपेंसेस इसमें होंगे, फॉर एग्जांपल सेलिंग एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ओवरहेड्स में क्या क्या आ सकता है? कैरेज आउटवर्ड. लुक, carriage inward has been considered here. Carriage outward will be considered here. Again, you have to understand the difference. Carriage inward, all the expenses which have been incurred to bring the goods into the factory, and the carriage outward, all those expenses which have been incurred to distribute the goods, finished goods into the market. जब पूरा गुड्स हमारा फाइनल गुड्स तैयार हो गया, नाउ इट इज टाइम टू सेल दैट गुड्स इनटू द मार्केट, तो जो उस पर जो चार्जेस होंगे उसको हम कैरेज आउटवर्ड बोलते हैं. तो जाहिर सी बात है वो सेल्स एंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन ओवरहेड से रिलेटेड हुए. आपका वेयर हाउसिंग रेंट्स भी हो सकता है, वेयर हाउसिंग रेंट. सपोज यू हैव योर वेयर हाउस टू स्टोर योर फाइनल गुड. बहुत सारे होते हैं, बहुत बड़े, आप जानते हैं, इवन छोटे छोटे जनरल स्टोर्स जितने भी होते हैं, छोटे छोटे फैक्ट्री जितनी भी होती हैं, कि एक अपना वेयर हाउस रखते हैं. जब अपना फाइनल गुड्स बना लेते हैं तो वो सारा फाइनल गुड्स बनाने के बाद कहीं एक जगह रखते हैं उसको, तो उसको हम क्या बोलते हैं? वेयर हाउसिंग करना. वेयर हाउसिंग रेंट हो सकता है, अगर अपन उसको रेंट पे ले रखा हो, अगर नहीं भी ले रखा तो उसकी कोई और कॉस्ट हो सकता है, उसको कैरिंग कॉस्ट, वॉट एवर. एडवर्टीजमेंट में भी हियर advertisement is also an expense which is incurred to promote sales, तो it is definitely the selling and distribution overheads. तो यहाँ पर और भी अगर है तो वो लिखा जाएगा यहाँ पर आपका, right? It will again depend in the question I have told you many times. Okay, all right. After you have adding, look, everything is added into the previous head, into this previous head. Now you will reach your final D head, that will known as cost of sales. I will call it total cost. I will call it total cost because once you have added all the expenses, look, from here to the end, what you are doing nothing. You are just adding all the expenses. But just now you have categorized into the four. One is factory related expenses, factory related overheads, office related overheads, selling and distribution related overheads, right? So what you are doing, but actually in what you practically you are doing, you are adding all the expenses. Once you are adding all the expenses, it means it will be equal to the total cost, which is known as cost of sales, जो हमारी जिसको हम बोलेंगे टोटल कॉस्ट बोल सकते हैं. तो जो हमारा यहाँ पर निकल कर आ जाएगा. अब सपोज either one thing will be given in the question. If the profit is given in the question, suppose, or sales is given in the question, so you have to leave one gap here and you have to write sales here. Sales. Now apply your common sense. If sales is already given in the question, it is the cost of sales. So difference will be known what? जो इनका और इनका डिफरेंस क्या होगा? सेल्स माइनस टोटल कॉस्ट क्या होगा? डेफिनेटली प्रॉफिट. और वाइस वर्सा केस, प्रॉफिट माइट बी गिवन इन द क्वेश्चन. तो वंस यू एड द प्रॉफिट इनटू द कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स, इट विल बी इक्वल टू द सेल्स. तो इफ यू आर आस्क्ड टू कैलकुलेट द सेल्स, you will be given the profit. If you are asked to calculate the profit, you will be given the sales in the question. So depending, right, whatever is given in the question, but I have just made you, right, introduced with a basic format of the cost sheet, a basic structure, right. If you see in the books, it is very much lengthy. You cannot cram up. इसको क्रैम अप नहीं कर सकते क्योंकि किसी भी हेड में देयर आर इननंबरेबल एक्सपेंसेस. तो कैसे आप क्रैम अप करोगे? अगर मैं आपसे बोलूं कि ऑफिस ओवरहेड्स हैं, तो ऑफिस ओवरहेड्स भी कम से कम कुछ नहीं तो कम से कम 40 to 50 एक्सपेंसेस होते हैं. तो आप कैसे उन्हें क्रैम अप करोगे? इसी तरह से फैक्ट्री ओवरहेड्स होते हैं. तो जस्ट यू नो द कॉन्सेप्ट एक्चुअली व्हाई इट इज हैपनिंग, व्हाई वी आर एडिंग, है ना. So this is all about just clearing the concept of the cost sheet here, why it is prepared. As I have told you, it is prepared to calculate the profit, and that's why it is known as the statement of the profit or the statement of cost and profit, right? It is statement of the cost and profit. इसलिए but जो हम फाइनेंशियल अकाउंटिंग में प्रॉफिट कैलकुलेट करते हैं, वहाँ हमें वी हैव टू फॉलो द GAAP, जनरली एक्सेप्टेड अकाउंटिंग प्रिंसिपल्स. वी हैव टू फॉलो द रूल्स ऑफ डेबिट एंड क्रेडिट. हियर वी डोंट हैव टू फॉलो द डेबिट एंड क्रेडिट रूल, एंड विद दिस वे आई हैव टोल्ड यू, you have to just prepare the format of the cost sheet and you have to calculate the profit. Now this is a basic format. It may come in your examination like this only. So as I have told you many times, there is no difference between the theory and the practical. Sometimes lot of students ask, sir थ्योरी पार्ट ज़्यादा आएगा, है ना सर, न्यूमेरिकल पार्ट ज़्यादा आएगा, क्या आएगा एग्जाम में क्या ज़्यादा आएगा? तो एक्चुअली इट इज़ समटाइम्स कंफ्यूजिंग, बिकॉज इफ आई एम आस्किंग, if I am preparing a question paper, if I am asking this, what do you understand by cost sheet? Prepare a format of cost sheet. So it will be as equal to the numerical question, because if you have prepared the format completely, you will be given 100% marks. There is no point of cutting the marks. अगर आपने फॉर्मेट पूरी तरीके से सही बना दिया, तो अगर ये 10 नंबर का क्वेश्चन है तो 10 नंबर आपको मिलेंगे. तो थ्योरी में और न्यूमेरिकल में बहुत ज़्यादा कोई डिफरेंस नहीं होता है अकाउंटिंग में एज मैनी टाइम. बस यू हैव टू बी वेरी मच clear about the concepts, right? So if you are watching continuously my video, definitely your concept will be clear. Once the concept is clear, then everything is clear, as I have told you. फिर बहुत सारी चीज़ आप अपने आप से अपना खुद से ही कैलकुलेट करना सीख जाते हो. ज़रूरी नहीं कि फिर आपको 1000 प्रॉब्लम होती हैं एक चीज़ की, ये ध्यान रखना. अगर कॉस्ट शीट ही है, अगर कॉस्ट शीट के क्वेश्चन होंगे तो देयर विल बी इननंबरेबल. हर क्वेश्चन में एक अलग अलग प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है, बट वंस द कॉन्सेप्ट इज क्लियर, यू विल अप्लाई योर सेंस एंड यू विल सॉल्व योर सेल्फ, राइट. ये नहीं कि अगर 1000 क्वेश्चन हो कि 1000 के 1000 क्वेश्चन को आपको प्रैक्टिकली यहाँ करा जाएगा. कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर हो गई तो आप बहुत सारी चीज़ें अपना खुद कर सकते हो. दिस इज द एक्चुअली द मेन पर्पज of preparing the video is just to make your concept clear, right? And just I'm ending my lecture here, just telling you the format of the cost sheet. I hope that I did make some sense and you have understood well the format of the cost sheet. Might have thinking that it's easier as you were expecting, right? Thank you for watching this video patiently. Wait for the another video. Now I will come in the next video with some illustration on the basis of the cost sheet. Then you will understand it in a better way. Till then, goodbye. Thank you very much.